All right, this is the review for test two for MAT0022. And let's start with number one and we'll complete all of the problems that are highlighted. Number one, we see -5 times 7n minus 5 in parentheses plus 4n. Now we're asked to simplify this expression, which means we need to distribute and combine like terms. So we're distributing -5 times 7n, and that gives us -35n, and then -5 times -5. A negative times negative, that will become +25, plus the 4n at the end, right behind the parentheses. We'll just carry that term over. Now let's look and see which terms we can combine. What do we have that are alike? We have -35n and +4n. So both of these terms can be combined. -35n plus 4n gives us -31n, and then we carry down the plus 25. This is our answer. For number two, we're simplifying this expression. We notice in our numerator, we have the absolute value of 14 minus 2. 14 minus 2, that's 12. And the absolute value of 12, let's carry this over, the absolute value of 12 is 12, plus the 1. And in the denominator, we have 17 plus 3 times 2. Our order of operations tell us to multiply first, so we're multiplying 3 times 2. That gives us 6. We'll carry over the plus sign and 17. Now we want to simplify this a little bit further. In our numerator, 12 plus 1 gives us 13. And in the denominator, 17 plus 6 gives us 23. This is our answer, 13 divided by 23. Now let's look at example 6. We're solving this equation. We have 5n plus 55. Let me recopy this over here. 5n plus 55 equals 60. To solve this equation, we first want to subtract 55 from both sides of the equation. Now, when we subtract 55 on the left side of the equation, the 55s cancel out, leaving 5n. And on the right side, 60 minus 55 gives us 5. Next, we want to divide both sides of this equation by 5. On the left side, the 5s will cancel, leaving n, and n equals 5 divided by 5, which is 1. This is our answer. Now let's look at number 8. Number 8, we have 4 outside parentheses. Again, we need to distribute. And inside parentheses, 5x minus 1 equals 21x. So we're distributing this 4 outside the parentheses. 4 times 5x gives us 20x. Minus 4 times 1 gives us 4. And that equals 21x. Now we want to combine these like terms that are on opposite sides of the equal sign. Now you can bring the 20x over to the right, or you can bring the 21x over to the left. It doesn't matter which one. We're going to go ahead and subtract 20x from both sides of the equation. Now when we do that, the 20x will cancel on the left side, leaving -4, equals on the right side, 21x minus 20x is just 1x. So x equals -4. All right, let's look at number 12. We want to solve this formula for the specified variable. So we're solving this formula, d equals 1/4 fk for f. We're solving for f, which means we need to get f by itself. We have this equation with a formula of d equals 1/4 times f and k. Since we want to solve for f, we need to get rid of these two terms that are on the left and the right sides of f. To get rid of the 1/4, we would take the reciprocal of this fraction. We flip the fraction, that becomes 4/1, and we multiply both sides of the equation by that reciprocal. So 4/1 is just 4. When we multiply the right side of the equation by 4, the 4's cancel, leaving fk on the right side of the equal sign. On the left side, we have 4d. So 4d equals fk. We're still trying to get f by itself. So now we're going to divide both sides of the equation by k. When we divide by k on the right side, the k's will cancel, leaving f. So f equals 4d, this is 4d divided by k. So f equals 4d divided by k. This is our answer. And then looking at number 13, we're going to solve this inequality and then graph the solution set and write our answer in interval notation. So first, when we look to solve this inequality, let's rewrite negative 9x less than or equal to 18 over here to the right. So we want to solve, we need to divide both sides of the inequality by negative 9. Now on the left side, when we divide by negative 9, the negative 9's cancel, leaving x. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to reverse this symbol. So we have to change our symbol from being less than or equal to greater than or equal to. And on the right side, 18 divided by negative 9, that gives us negative 2. So our answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 2. That's the first part. X greater than or equal to negative 2. Now we need to find the graph that represents x values that are greater than or equal to negative 2. So let's find negative 2. We see we have 4 answer choices that have negative 2. Which of those graphs are shaded in the positive direction? See how our arrow is pointing to the right? We want numbers that are bigger than negative 2, and that's A and B. So we can automatically eliminate C and D because they're being shaded to the left. Now we need to determine whether we use brackets or parentheses. Parentheses and brackets are predicated upon the type of inequality symbol we have. So remember, if you have a less than symbol or a greater than symbol by itself, you want to use parentheses. If you have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, you would use brackets. We have greater than or equal to, so already we know we should be using the brackets. So our answer would be letter A. We have a bracket at negative 2, and then we're shading to the right, numbers that are greater than or equal to negative 2. Now in interval notation, we would write our interval notation using the same format. We should have a bracket, negative 2, a comma, and then positive infinity. Now you always use parentheses for infinity. So this would be interval notation. Now let's look at number 16. Now for 16, we're solving another inequality. We got to graph the inequality, and then we also have to write the solution in interval notation. So looking at our inequality, let's recopy that inequality over here to the side. 8x minus 4 less than or equal to 10x minus 4x. Now on the right side of the inequality, we can go ahead and combine 10x minus 4x. That gives us 6x. We'll carry down our symbol, negative 4 and 8x in front. So we have 8x minus 4 less than or equal to 6x. To solve this inequality, we're going to go ahead and subtract 6x from both sides of the inequality. Now when we do that, on the right side, the 6x and the 6x will cancel out, leaving 0. We'll carry down our minus 4, and on the left side, 8x minus 6x gives us 2x. So we're not done. We still got to get this x by itself. So we're going to add 4 to both sides of the inequality. On the left side, our 4's would cancel, leaving 2x less than or equal to 0 plus 4 or 4. And then lastly, we want to divide both sides of the inequality by 2. On the left side, the 2's will cancel, leaving x less than or equal to on the right side. 4 divided by 2 gives us 2. So x less than or equal to 2 is our solution. Now look at our symbol. It's less than or equal to, so we know we should have brackets at positive 2. And our arrow is pointing to the right or to the left, numbers that are smaller, so x less than or equal to 2. So we're going to be shading to the left side, which means we're shading in the direction of negative infinity. And you should always have parentheses around the infinity. So which graph represents values of x that are less than or equal to 2? We're looking here, we see 2 with bracket, but it's shaded in the positive direction. We have a bracket here at 2, and yes, it's shaded in the direction of negative infinity. So our answer choice would be letter C, and our interval notation should be written in the same order: parentheses, negative infinity, comma, positive 2, and then a bracket. All right, let's look at number 17. For 17, we're looking to find the slope when we're given these 2 points. When you're given 2 points and you're asked to find the slope, you want to use your formula. Remember, M stands for slope. So to find the slope using those 2 points, we're going to take the difference in the y values and divide that difference by the difference in the x values. Now our 2 points, we want to label our first point as x sub 1, y sub 1. And our second point we want to label as x sub 2, y sub 2. And now we'll substitute those values into the slope formula. So in our numerator, y2 minus y1, our y2 is negative 5 minus our y1, which is negative 4. We'll put that negative in parentheses. In the denominator, x2 is negative 4 minus x1, which is negative 6. And we're going to put that negative 6 in parentheses. And now let's simplify here. So negative 5 minus negative 4. Remember, 2 negatives side by side, that becomes addition. So this should be interpreted as negative 5 plus 4 in the numerator, which gives us negative 1. The same thing occurs in the denominator. We have those negatives side by side, so that becomes negative 4 plus 6, which gives us 2. So our slope is negative 1/2. All right, let's look at number 18. This time we're going to use this graph to find the slope. Now we have 2 points that are highlighted for us, so we're going to refer to these 2 points that are highlighted, and understanding that our slope, we can make this determination by simply writing the ordered pairs for these points. This first point over here in the second quadrant, we're at negative 1 and 3. So we will label that ordered pair as -1, 3. We label this second point down here in the fourth quadrant, we're at 2 and -5, so we will label it as 2, -5. Now we could simply identify these points as our x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, and plug these numbers into our slope formula, just like we did for number 17. Or another method we could take is we could just simply calculate our rise over our run. Find that difference along the y-axis. How far up or down did we move to get from the first point to the second point, and write that number in the numerator. And then count the number of spaces to the right, the shift along the x-axis, to figure out what our denominator should be. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to count the spaces that we had to move from point 1 to point 2. How many spaces down, the vertical shift, and then how many spaces to the right, the horizontal shift. Now, starting at 3 on the y-axis, we have to move down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. Since you're moving down, that should be -8. That's our rise, since we're moving downward. Now, after we move down 8 spaces, we move to the right 1, 2, 3 spaces. That's +3. So our slope is here, -8/3. That's our answer. Now for problem 19, we're asked to find the slope again, but this time we have an equation. And the easiest way to look at these problems is you want to rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m, this number that's in front of x, that is your slope. But we first have to get y by itself on the left side of the equation. We have, in our problem, 2x plus y equals 9. So to get y by itself on the left side, we have to subtract 2x from both sides of this equation. The 2x's will cancel on the left side, leaving y equals -2x plus that 9. Now what is our slope? It's the number that's in front of x here. So our slope is -2. All right, let's look at number 22. Now, in this example, we're told that the pitch of the roof is the slope. So we're looking for the slope based on the pitch of the roof. Now remember, slope, other language that we learn for slope is our rise over run. So in our numerator, how far down or up are we moving? What's our shift along the y-axis is 16. Our run, what's our shift from left to right, is 20. Now we can simplify this fraction, 16 over 20. Both of these numbers can be divided to reduce it. We could divide both of these numbers by 4. And 16 divided by 4 in the numerator gives us 4. In the denominator, 20 divided by 4 gives us 5. So our slope would be 4/5, which means the pitch of the roof is going to be 4/5. And that's already simplified. Now let's look at number 23. You're asked to identify the intercepts. Intercepts, there are 2 of them. There's a y-intercept and an x-intercept. The y-intercept is where the line crosses, the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Look, where our line crosses the y-axis is down here at -5. So that y-intercept, we write the ordered pair, which is 0, -5. So our y-intercept is 0. Let's write it 0, -5. Our x-intercept, where does this graph cross and touch the x-axis? Right here at +5. That ordered pair should be written as 5, 0. So we write our x-intercept as 5, 0. Those are our answers. Now the last problem we're going to look at today, we're graphing this linear equation, y equals 2x plus 6. What you want to do first is you want to find the slope and the y-intercept. Find m and b. Our slope, remember, is the number in front of x. So our slope is 2. Our y-intercept, the b term, that's the number that's behind x. So the 6 would be our b. Next, we want to plot b on our coordinate plane. Since our y-intercept, our b term is 6, we're going to go on the y-axis to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the y-axis and plot that point. Now we want to use the slope to get the second point. Our slope is 2, but we want to create this slope in fraction form. To make 2 a fraction, we have to put 2 over 1, which tells us what is our rise and what is our run. How far up or down do we move on the y-axis, and how far to the left or right do we move along the x-axis. This is a positive 2 in the numerator, so that means we have to go up 2 spaces. A positive 1 in the denominator, which means we're going to move to the right 1 space. Starting at our y-intercept, we're going to move up 2, right 1, and then plot the second point. So starting at 6, we're going to go up 1, 2, right 1, plot the point, and then we'll connect those 2 points to create the graph of the line. And I think we have one more example that I wanted us to do, number 25. You're graphing this equation, y equals -2. So first you want to plot -2 on the y-axis. We're going to go down to 1, -2 on the y-axis and plot this point. Now, in order for us to graph the line that cuts through the y-axis at -2, we have to think about that. If we're at -2 on the y-axis, how can a line go through the y-axis? It'll have to be moving left to right. It'll have to move left to right in order to cut through the y-axis. So after you plot the first point, you're either going to move to the right or the left to plot a second point. So start at -2, either you're going to go up, or go to the right, plot a second point, or go to the left and plot a second point. It doesn't matter how many spaces you move over, just make sure you stay at -2 on the y-axis. After you get at least 2 points, then you can connect them to create that horizontal line that goes through the y-axis at -2. This is the graph of y equals -2. So you should either be going right or left to get your second point. You need at least 2 points to plot a graph. And that's the last example for your test 2 review. We're going to stop here.